So that's very nice, atoms, but what are atoms? Are they actually little tiny marbles? I mean, it's convenient to picture them that way, little spheres, hard spheres. No, they actually aren't. They're actually quite complicated. Back around the turn of the 20th century, around 1900, a guy named J.J. Thomson was interested in what was inside of the atom. And he postulated, which means he said, I think this is true, he postulated the existence of electrons using some experiments with cathode ray tubes. And the electrons had a negative charge, and in order for there to be a neutral charge on the atom, then there must also be positive charges. So this is it's kind of an overview of some of the things that he did. So this is a cathode ray tube. It's in some ways pretty similar to a neon light. So you have a glass tube with a gas inside of it. And here's the illustration, the diagram. So this is partially evacuated, but has a gas in here. And then there's a metal electrode at one end and a metal electrode at the other end, and you apply a voltage across this. So you run current through it. Well, current is the flow of electrons. Electrons have a negative charge. We know this now. They didn't know that then. But here's this gas, and they found that they could cause an electric current to go through here. And so there must be some particle that can travel from one end to the other and carry that electric current. And so that was one of their first clues of the existence of electrons. And so he made a model of what he thought the atom looked like. And it's called the Plum Pudding model. He was British. We don't understand what a plum pudding is. Why would you put plums in pudding, right? Well, the British pudding is really more like a muffin cake type dessert. So a plum pudding, the closest thing we would probably have to that is like a blueberry muffin. So you've got a cakey thing with blueberries just kind of scattered around irregularly. So this is the plum pudding or blueberry muffin model of the atom. So we've got this positive cloud that has a spherical shape, and then we've got these negatively charged electrons which are dotted around throughout like blueberries in a muffin. But he knew there was some sort of a negative particle in there, and if there was a negative particle, there had to be a positive particle because they knew there was no charge on on the atoms themselves. So then a little bit later, Ernest Rutherford, 1911, did some more experiments. And his explanation of the atom is now called the nuclear atom. And this comes from his idea that the atom has a dense center of positive charge called the nucleus. So his idea was that instead of this big positive charge being most of the atom, that the positive charge was actually a little tiny piece in the middle. And then the electrons were traveling around the nucleus. And he talked about what that positive charge was. He said there were protons, and that those have the same magnitude of charge as the electrons, but the charge is positive. So electrons are negative and protons are positive. And then Chadwick worked with Rutherford, and this is like 20 years later. They found out that there's another particle inside the atom. So the atom is the smallest unit of an element, but inside the atom there are three particles: electrons, protons, and another one called the neutron. Neutrons are neutral. They don't have a charge. The neutrons and the protons are roughly the same size, and the electrons are really teeny tiny, unbelievably small.